Let me tell you something that most English teachers will never admit. The difference between a B2 speaker and a C1 speaker hard, it's not vocabulary, it's rhythm. It's the way words lean into each other, the way sentences breathe, the way a native speaker can say 4 words, and the only way to get that rhythm inside you is to listen, not to study it, not to analyze it.
Listen to it, absorb it, let it settle into your ear until it feels familiar. That's what we're doing today. 10 minutes, no textbook, no exercises, just English at full speed, the way it actually sounds. Stay with me. Section 1. The City at Night. There's a particular kind of quiet that only exists in a city after midnight. It's not silence, not really. Cities never go fully silent. There's always something, a distant siren, the low hum of a refrigerator in a corner shop, a couple arguing 2 floors above, the faint clatter of someone who stayed too long at the restaurant and is now unlocking their bike in a hurry. But it's close to quiet, and that closeness is what makes it beautiful. I walked home late one Tuesday, one of those nights where the rain had just stopped and the pavements were still wet, reflecting the orange glow of the streetlights like the whole city was lying face down in a shallow lake. And I remember thinking, there is no translation for this. Not because the words don't exist in other languages, but because this specific feeling, this particular Tuesday night after rain in a city feeling, it only makes sense when you're standing in it. Language does that sometimes. It doesn't just describe the world, it is the world. And when you reach a certain level in English, when the language stops being a filter between you and experience, that's when everything changes. Section 2. The Science of Listening. Here's something fascinating about how the human brain processes language. When you hear a word in your native language, your brain doesn't process the individual sounds and then assemble meaning. It works the other way around. It predicts. Your brain is constantly running ahead of the conversation, anticipating what comes next, filling in gaps, making lightning-fast guesses based on context, tone, rhythm, everything it's absorbed over a lifetime of listening. That's why native speakers can understand each other even in noisy environments, even when someone mumbles, even when a sentence is grammatically incomplete, which, by the way, most spoken sentences are. We don't say, I am going to go to the shop. We say, gonna pop to the shops. And a native ear doesn't even notice the difference because the brain already knew what was coming. Now, here's why this matters for you. The more authentic English you absorb, and I mean authentic, not scripted, not textbook, not artificially slowed, the more your brain starts to build that same predictive model. It starts to expect certain patterns. It starts to feel when something sounds right. It starts to understand, not by translating, but by knowing. And you cannot rush that process, but you can feed it. Every minute of real English you listen to at real speed is another data point for your brain, another pattern recognized, another gap filled, another step closer to that feeling, that extraordinary feeling of understanding without effort. Which is exactly what you're doing right now. Section 3. A conversation about nothing in particular. I had a conversation the other day that went absolutely nowhere, and it was one of the best conversations I've had in months. It started because my neighbor and I were both waiting for the lift at the same time, and the lift was taking, as lifts always do when you're watching them, an unreasonable amount of time. So she said, and I love this, it's so British, she said, "It's always the way, isn't it?" Not a question, a statement, an observation about the universe. And I said, "Every single time." And she said, "I've started taking the stairs. Better for me anyway, but then I always end up carrying something heavy, don't I?" And we laughed, and the lift arrived, and we both got in it anyway. Now, what happened in that conversation linguistically is actually quite sophisticated. It's always the way. That's a fixed expression used to acknowledge a mildly frustrating but unsurprising situation. It implies shared experience. It invites agreement. Every single time. This is an echo response. It validates without adding new information. It keeps the exchange going without demanding effort. I always end up doing... This structure, end up doing something, expresses an unintended or inevitable result. It has a slightly self-deprecating tone. It's warm, unpretentious, relatable. And here's the thing about small talk that most learners get wrong. They think it's about what you say. It isn't. Small talk is about how quickly you can make someone feel that you're on the same side. The vocabulary is almost irrelevant. The grammar is secondary. What matters is, do you sound like someone they want to keep talking to? And that, my friend, comes entirely from listening, from absorbing thousands of these small, seemingly pointless conversations until they stop feeling foreign and start feeling familiar. Section 4, on language and identity. Someone asked me once, "Do you think differently in different languages?" And I've been thinking about that question ever since. Because I think the honest answer is yes and no, and it's more complicated than either of those. There are things I can say in English that don't quite exist in other languages, not because the ideas are untranslatable, but because the shape of the thought changes depending on the words available. English has this wonderful directness, this tendency to land on a point and stand there. Get to the point. Cut to the chase. In a nutshell. There's an impatience to it, but also an efficiency, a respect for the other person's time. And when you internalize a language deeply enough, not just its vocabulary, but its logic, its rhythm, its particular way of looking at the world, you don't just gain a skill. You gain a perspective, a new way of noticing things, a new window. And I think that's what the best language learners understand, maybe without even putting it into words. They're not just learning English to pass an exam or impress someone at a dinner party. They're learning it because somewhere, quietly, privately, they suspect that on the other side of fluency there is a version of themselves they haven't met yet. Someone who can step into a room full of native speakers and feel not like a visitor, but like they belong. That person is closer than you think. Closing, the final minute. 10 minutes. That's all this was. And yet, if you stayed with me the whole way, your ear just processed natural English at full native speed. Through description and science and small talk and philosophy, through vocabulary you know and vocabulary you're still making friends with, through rhythm and tone and pace and all the invisible things that make a language feel alive. That is not nothing. That is, quietly, without you even noticing, exactly how fluency is built. Come back tomorrow, 10 more. And the day after, 10 more. Because here's the truth. The ear learns before the mouth does. And one day, sooner than you think, your mouth will catch up. I'll see you in the next session. Take care.